training's the priority, I suppose, and then everything else sort of fits around it. Like CrossFit workouts suck, right? They suck.
They're
and
hard,
everyone is there doing the same thing, battling, and like feels the same. And then, after it, you're like, wow, I achieved that. And I suppose everyone else is feeling that too. So I think that's how it all sort of ties in. Like everyone's going through the same hurt, like not giving up, like getting back on the horse. Like if it's something you truly want to do, then like you can put your mind to it and you can do it. I want to make the CrossFit Games, so I want to be standing on the podium at Tori and punching my ticket back to the CrossFit Games.
Pumped by Reebok. This is Anneli Maley's Under the Surface. Hello, welcome to Under the Surface. I'm your host, Anneli Maley. This is Pumped by Reebok, and I'm here with Maddie Sturt today. How are you doing today?
I am good. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Of course. What have you been up to today? What does your day look like so far? I know it's only 10:15, but what does your morning look like?
I took the dog to the park and then I've been doing a little bit of work and now I'm here.
Okay, so that's actually maybe the most important question in the episode. Tell me about your dog.
I have two. We have Sarge, who is a German Short-Haired Pointer. He's 3.5. And then I have a very old rescue Whippet. He's 14 now.
Oh, we need to insert some photos of that. I love Whippets and I love GSPs. What a great combo. Oh my goodness. Are they like, are they hectic to have around the house or they're pretty lazy?
The Whippet, Wilfred, he's pretty lazy. He doesn't do much these days. But Sarge, yes, he can be very hectic. He needs his outings.
Do they come do your workouts with you or?
Yeah, they come to the gym every day. Yeah.
Do they actually?
Yeah.
I need to see some content of that. That actually sounds amazing. So if this was a normal training day for you, what would that look like? Explain that to us.
Oh, well, I suppose it's all sort of changed for us in the last few months. So just sort of finding a routine with that now. But yeah, we train from home or train from Jay's parents' house. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like training's become more of a full-time thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just training's the priority, I suppose, and then everything else sort of fits around it. So yeah, depending on what the sessions are, like whether we need to go to the track or whether we go to the gym. But yeah, we're in the gym for a few hours each day now.
And so what is the next thing that you're kind of training for, working towards?
So the CrossFit season is about to start. It's starting like end of Feb, and it starts with the Open. So there's a couple like I sort of guess like steps along the way. So like Open is 3 workouts. You do 1 workout each week and you do that in your gym and you just have to submit your scores and film it. And then about a month later, there's another sort of online comp where you have to, again, submit your scores online, film your workouts, but that's sort of like 4 or 5 workouts within like the space of a weekend. Mm-hmm. And then from there, they're taking the top 40 athletes to Torian, which is in Brisbane, which is our CrossFit semi-final event.
Okay.
And then from Brisbane, they take the top 3 to the CrossFit Games. So there's sort of like steps.
Okay, so how long is this process, like this season? How long does it last?
So our semi-finals are all in May, mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. Ours is in May, the end of May. And then the games is like early August if you qualify for the CrossFit Games. So it's a few months. But yeah.
What does, like when you're in season, right? Like what does your off days look like if you have any? Like how do you switch off from like, hey, I'm in training mode, I'm go, to like, I'm a person. Yeah.
Off days, like right now, Thursday is sort of like an easier day or like an active recovery day. Mm-hmm. And then Mondays are the rest days. So at the moment, I'm just cooked Sunday night. So Monday, I'm not doing too much, like maybe just catching up on life things, doing a little bit of work, like nothing crazy.
When you say work, what is that for you?
I am an online nutrition coach. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just something that I can fit around training. Like I can sort of do that at any time if I need to get it done in the morning or in the night. Like so training can sort of take up the most of my day.
How long have you been doing that for?
Not very long, like maybe 2 years. But yeah, it's been awesome because before that I was just sort of, again, trying to just have a job to to pay the bills that would allow me to train, but it was getting pretty tricky, like trying to fit training in around an actual job, like where I had to go to work, whereas now I can sort of take my laptop wherever I go.
Well, your training is a full-time job in and of itself. I think that's the part that people don't understand is they see, you know, you train and they're like, oh, that's just, you know, the part that she does for a hobby, right? But that's work. Like, yeah, it's fun and it's a great type of work as professional athletes. It's a great job to have, right? But it's also you having to have your own job as well as the other job. Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to balance, but I think, I feel so lucky now doing what I am doing because, it fits in nicely or I can make it work.
Yeah. Making it work shouldn't be the end goal. It should be like, oh, this is is the goal to do that full time, like to be able to train full time and just do that? Or do you like having something else on the side?
A little bit of both. Like some days I'm like, man, I wish I could just train.
Yeah.
And then some days it is nice to have something else to do and to think about. So, I don't know. I feel like that is something I can do once I'm not trying to train all the time and be an athlete.
Yeah, no, that's true. I get that. So there's a question here that said, did you listen to the Jay Crouch? Was everything he said truthful about himself? Or how do you feel about that?
I did listen. And yes, everything he said is truthful.
Damn, I was hoping to get like some sort of like juicy goss out of it. Like, that's not who he is. Like,
no, not at all.
Does he really eat 2-minute noodles for like all of his meals? Like,
he has stopped that now.
Now that you guys are in season or as training for season?
I saw this pretty cool video online where it was like they actually filmed like inside how the 2-minute noodles don't break down in your body. And I was like, look, Jay, they're not good for you.
And so he stopped. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's had them every now and then, but he's not eating them consistently like he was.
Saw the insides and he's like, ooh, maybe not for me. Okay, I want to kind of dial it back and I will ask how you got into CrossFit and stuff. But first I want to ask, like, what were you like as a kid? Like, what was childhood Maddie like? How would people describe you?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say I was still pretty active and into sports, or I was really into athletics. But my sister and I like loved being active. And I feel like we had great support from my mum and my grandparents because my dad wasn't around. So like my grandparents sort of filled that role. And I honestly just feel like all I remember is like my pop just driving me around to like different games or the gym or like track meets and stuff like that. So
do you remember how you got into athletics, or do you remember your first sporting thing that you tried, or it was just kind of you always did it?
No, I started athletics when I was really little. I did gymnastics too, but that didn't last too long because that was getting pretty hectic.
Yeah.
I just played netball, but that was a bit more for fun. Like I wouldn't say I'm overly great with ball sports, but I like doing fitness.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then like as you're, a young active kid transitioning into high school, that's when a lot of girls and women especially, they drop whatever sporting thing it is that they do, or there seems to be a lack of participation for females at that age in any sort of sporting environment. How did you kind of stick with what you were doing, or do you remember a time where you thought about stopping? Like, talk me through that.
I never thought about stopping. Like, I always thought it was so cool and so much fun. And I think, I had like amazing support from both my mum and my pop in particular of, staying focused and still doing something because it is super important. If anything, I feel like athletics was starting to pick up when I was a teen. And then it sort of got to the point where I ended up with a sprint coach, but then he was sort of saying like, because I was also doing CrossFit already at this point. And he was like, well, actually, if you're going to go and do like a 40-minute workout, that's actually taking away from your sprinting. Yeah. So you're probably going to have to pick one. And I sat on the fence for ages, but then I ended up just, picking CrossFit. Yeah.
So jumping back, do you remember your first CrossFit experience, or like how did you get into that?
Well, I suppose my mum was worried that I was going to fall out of sport. And she first just got me into like the normal gym. I remember I was so young. I was probably like 11, 12,
Yeah.
and I was going to like RVM classes with my mum.
That's so random.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Go mum for bringing you along there.
It was cool then.
Yeah.
They turn the lights down and all the walls are like neon with like neon
You're like,
paint.
is this what a club feels like?
Yeah.
11-year-old you is like, yeah, this is great. Yeah.
Basically. And then she met people through that gym that were also doing CrossFit. She started CrossFit and she was like, wow, I think you're really going to like this, Maddie. You should come and try it. So, yeah, I was about 12 when I first started CrossFit.
Oh, so you started it with your mum?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you still train with her now, every now and then?
Yeah, every now and then. Like, she's in Sydney. I'm from Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I suppose the last few years for her, like with injuries and things like that, she's not really doing CrossFit as much. She's just doing like Globo Gym weights and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if she ever comes down to visit, she always just gets FOMO and tries to do stuff too.
So do you think your like love and like passion for fitness came from like your mum and your grandparents, like kind of like the example there, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, like I always remember my pop was just always watching every sport he could. Like in the background, there was always like sport playing on the TV. And then, yeah, just I suppose mum's support as well of just wanting us to stay fit and healthy and active.
Yeah, and that's super important. I love that she took you with her to go through that. That's so cool. I think that obviously there's like, I don't know, for some reason when you do go into commercial gyms and stuff, you don't see a lot of young people. And also it's a pretty scary place for like young females to walk into commercial gyms.
Yeah,
like,
I felt very out of place. It was like just walk through all the weights to get to the bike room.
Do you remember the first time you went to a gym by yourself?
It was probably just like at the CrossFit gym and jumping into a class.
Yeah.
But no, like I suppose by that point, like if I was going on my own, I was probably already like pretty in the in the group. Like CrossFit has like such a great community back then. So I feel like I had a lot of like big brothers and sisters at the gym, I suppose.
Talk to me about that, like the community side of it. I know that a lot of people don't, who haven't heard of CrossFit or don't understand it. Like what are you walking into when you walk into a CrossFit gym, or like what are you really signing yourself up for?
Like I think everyone thinks it's like this big, scary, daunting thing and that everyone there's an athlete, but that's not the case at all. Like if you were to walk into any CrossFit gym, any class, it's just a wide variety of people and literally like while everyone's doing the same workout, it's actually like very scalable. So everyone's doing their own version of the workout and what they can do with where they're at.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always like such an inclusive environment, I guess.
The inclusivity space for gyms is always really hard to kind of find. I know, like, not just in like weightlifting areas, but also in any sort of sporting environment, it can sometimes feel exclusive. Like it's a club that we're not a part of, you know? So what would you say to people who want to find that kind of family environment and maybe could find it in CrossFit?
I would say, sign up, just go to a class.
The whole idea of the big brother sister thing, like that's really cool. Would you say that that's like a collective experience for a lot of people in that space?
Yeah, I think probably a lot of it comes from like CrossFit workouts suck, right? They suck.
They're
and
hard,
everyone is there doing the same thing, battling and like feels the same. And then, after it, you're like, wow, I achieved that. And I suppose everyone else is feeling that too. So I think that's how it all sort of ties in. Like everyone's going through the same hurt.
Yeah, I get that. There's like when something's hard, you kind of band together and then you lean on each other and that's what creates the family. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember when like CrossFit for you started becoming like a serious thing? Like sure, you have passion, you enjoy it, you love it, but you're like, oh, I want to compete. Like that step, I guess.
Yeah. I think so like CrossFit has changed a little bit like in the steps over the years, but like back then our semi-finals were called regionals.
Okay.
And they used to take a bit more and then over the years it sort of cut the number back down. But when I was 17, I made regionals.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this? What is going on?
Yeah.
So at that point I was like, oh, like maybe I can try and keep making regionals. Like this is cool. And because I was still in high school then. So that was just like such a crazy experience. And then the next year I turned 18 and they bought in the teen category, and I was like, man, like,
I could have been doing this.
Where's this for the last like 4 years? This would have been sick.
I would have been killing these guys.
Yeah. And then they cut the number of people they were taking to regionals that year, so I actually missed out. And so that was like the switch or like lighting the fire. I was like, no, I want to make it back to regionals. Like I never would have thought, and back then, never would have even dreamed that I'd be a games athlete. I thought I was just going to
4 times,
be a
right? You've been 4 times?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought I was just going to be a regionals athlete, and at that point I was just stoked with that.
Yeah.
So.
What's it like competing in front of a crowd? Like I know like, when you're in your gym and like you have people around you, right? But like at the games and at regionals, there's people watching, right? Like you've got people. Are you able to zone that out, or does it kind of fuel the fire?
Both. I think it depends like what you're doing. Like sometimes, you're in a workout and you don't hear a thing. Yeah. Like I remember we finished a comp and people were like, man, that DJ was awesome. I was like, I did not hear a single song.
DJ?
Was there a DJ?
White noise, you mean?
Yeah. So sometimes it's like you just forget the crowd's there, and then sometimes, especially like in lifting events, when you've got like to hit a few lifts and you're like loading your barbell and changing it, and of course then you're like looking up and you're like kind of looking at people in the crowd. So that stuff can fire you up too, especially if you can see like people looking at you and like cheering for you. Yeah, definitely fires you up. It's cool.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about challenges and stuff. So like throughout your CrossFit career, what would you say is the hardest thing that you've faced and maybe overcome?
Well, I suppose the last few years. So I'm a 4 times CrossFit Games athlete, but I've actually missed the games the last 4 years.
Okay.
So I'm like still digging. Like I didn't give up when I missed out 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. Like I still have the belief in myself, and I'm leaning into more of that now. And especially because I've just been so close every year. So I believe that I can make it back. But so I suppose through the last 4 years, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and I think those first 2 years did wear me down a little bit. And then the last 2 years, I've been a little bit prouder and a little bit prouder and a little bit happier of things, how they've gone and how I've handled myself. But I think because I was just so young when I was making the games. Like I was 19 when I first made the CrossFit Games, and I had no idea what was going on. Yeah. So I think it's also partly been me like developing and growing as a person too.
Do you think that letdowns are a part of sport. Failures are a part of sport. Like it's just you don't reach something and then you learn and you grow and whatever. But what would you say, what would your advice be to someone who does miss out on a goal? It could be maybe a CrossFit comp. It could be any sort of fitness goal that they have. It could be broader. How do you bounce back from not achieving something, or like a letdown like that, I guess? Yeah. Well. Or how did you, I guess? Yeah.
Well, I was definitely disappointed, but I think, being resilient and believing in yourself, and then, just not giving up, getting back on the horse. Like if it's something you truly want to do, then you can put your mind to it and you can do it.
That self-belief piece, you said that believing in yourself a few times. Self-belief is really hard, man.
Yeah, it is. Really hard. Well, I feel like that's why I'm saying it a lot, is because I'm working on that right now.
So at what point did you realize that was a missing piece for you and that you were trying to kind of work towards that self-belief part?
Probably the last 2 years.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's so hard. Self-belief is it's such an underrated part of what we need to do to actually be successful athletes, right? So self-belief for me is something that I really struggle with, even though I've had success in certain areas. But for some reason, I can't look myself in the mirror and be like, I believe in you. It's just such a missing piece. How important is that to what you do every day, that self-belief piece?
Yeah, it's so important. I feel like I am now in the right space, I guess, with the right team around me. I feel like that's sort of been part of it too. We were sitting with our coach, and they were like, so what do you want to achieve this season? And I couldn't even say what I wanted. And they're like, well, that's why it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like, you need to sort this out because, how is anyone else going to believe you if you don't believe in yourself?
Yeah.
So that was like a light bulb moment for me. I was like, yeah, I do need to fix this.
Do you think it was a fear piece of saying what you wanted because then if you put it out there, what if you don't reach it?
Yeah, I think that's something else that I'm like figuring out too is like the last few years I have sort of been functioning off fear.
Yeah.
And yet you're not gonna get anywhere doing that.
It's a weird space to be because sometimes fear can motivate you, right, to like be better in certain areas, but it does set a limit on what you can do because you can't continuously run off the fear, right?
Yeah.
So I think that especially because you're in a sport that is so physically demanding, right? Like you have to put your body literally on the line almost in every session. Yeah. So how, like, I'm sure in sessions, like, do you ever get to a point where you're like, oh my God, I can't keep going? And how do you push past that? Because it is the mental wall for a lot of people in sort of physical realms. They hit that wall and they stop. What does that push through look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I suppose a lot of it comes down to like what's happening up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm just being like trying to be super conscious of how I talk to myself and what I say to myself, and just being more positive, I suppose.
Yeah. So like that self-talk, right? Yeah. It's kind of like the voice that tells you that you can't do stuff.
Yeah.
Do you change that? Like, how did you change that? Yeah.
Like, you know what you need to do and you know how you feel when you don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, you know what needs to happen. Come on, let's get it together. Let's go.
Do you have like I guess a routine for as you, like, I don't even know if this is a relevant question for you, but do you ever hit the bottom of your tank? And if you do, how do you push through that? Because that's what I mean is I know sometimes I'm in the middle of a game and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I have much more to give. And then that's where I'm like, okay, I said that out loud in my brain. Like I just said I don't have anything more to give. You do. You know? What's that look like for you?
Yeah. Now I'm trying to say like little mantras to myself. Like things along the lines of like keeping going, or like if you can make it through this, then the next session's going to be better, or the next week's going to be better. Like you're building blocks here and you're climbing. So yeah, just trying to stay in it and talk myself in it.
Yeah, I like that. The self-talk piece is like so important, especially in like any sort of sporting environment. How important is like does your outside life affect your performance in your sport?
Like what do you mean?
Like if you have stuff going on, yeah. Or if you like maybe you have stuff going on in your outside life and mentally it like you're going through something, does it affect how you perform in your sport, or is that more of an outlet?
No, I think it definitely can. So yeah, I like it's super important just being able to like once you step into the gym, leave that stuff outside the gym door just so you can focus on training. And then once you step back outside, then you can sort of pick back up where you left. Yeah. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, it is hard because yeah, over the years there's definitely been things that I've let affect sessions. But yeah, I suppose it's just trying to do your best to not let that happen.
If you had the opportunity to like speak to young Maddie, like teenage Maddie, or maybe like 11-year-old you going to that fitness class with your mum for the first time, what would you say to her?
I don't know.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like back then, and I suppose when I was first like making the games, like I did believe in myself and I didn't know I was doing that. So
it was like unconscious self-belief, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know, I suppose like, yeah, if I could just tap into what I'm doing now, like back then. Yeah. That maybe that would have set me up for success over the last few years, but
yeah. I guess you never know. What about like if you were able to talk to young girls that are scared to step foot in gyms? What would you say to them?
Oh, go for it. It's good fun. Like it's fun being strong. It's fun being fit. It's fun testing yourself and seeing what you're capable of.
Your sport, because you have to like make times and you are being compared to other athletes a lot, right? Like just in terms of like results based. Do you ever find yourself like comparing yourself like in a negative way to other athletes, or have you ever gone through a period of time where you're like, well, like my comparison is not healthy right now?
Yeah, I think that's definitely been happening. So yeah, it's hard because obviously like you want to know what everyone else is doing to see how you square up. But yeah, at the end of the day, like if you're giving your 100%, then that's what you can do. So yeah, it's definitely hard, but yeah, you just got to back yourself.
I think that in a lot of spaces because like I get to talk, I'm very lucky. I get to surround myself with a lot of very powerful female athletes all the time. And like, because I have my whole life been brought up around powerful female athletes and figures, and I've always seen like strength as power and all that type of thing. But I remember there was a period when I was in high school where it was like you were seen to be manly if you had muscles, you know? Like, have you ever had experience like maybe it was with bullies in high school, maybe it was just with your own self-image where you were just kind of falling into the norms of what society expects women to be?
Yeah, I definitely copped that through high school too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose by that point in high school, like I was already, I suppose like back with my big brothers and sisters, like I had such a cool environment to go to after school. So it didn't even matter what they were saying at school because I had awesome people around me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just having too much fun with it. But I think that's where CrossFit's really cool. Like I don't think it's that like judgmental in terms of what you look like. And especially now, and it's more and more so like, well, you need to be big and strong. Like all the girls are big and strong and they can do amazing things. Like no one cares what you look like. They care about what you can do, what you can lift, how fast you can go. So I think because it is such performance-based that it's more of a safer space in that regard.
I love that because it is really hard to find those spaces. Like even in basketball, sometimes we find ourselves being like, oh, we have to look like this certain type of athlete. I find that like in a lot of professional sports, they have like a cookie cutter for what the particular body type is that they want you to be like. We're, as a society and as professional athletes, we're moving more and more away from that. But there's definitely still examples to where it's like, oh, you got to look like this to play this sport. Like to be a netballer, you must look like this. To be a volleyball player, you must look like this. To be an AFLW player, you must look like this. So I love that, like, especially in CrossFit, it's like, it's not what you can look like, it's what you do.
Yeah.
Right. And what you can perform. Like that is what I hope as female athletes, we all start moving towards, because that's what it is. It's not about what we look like. It's about what we can do. And how powerful is that, you know?
Yeah. Like how you perform.
Yeah. So cool. I think, do you ever have moments where you're able to look back on and be like, damn, I did that? Like, and you can appreciate your body and what it does for you and like just what you achieved.
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Like, yeah, through comps and even through training sessions, you're like, well, that was an awesome session. Like, I can't believe I did that. Or like I lifted that, I hit that PB. Like, yeah, just making yourself proud, I guess.
That's so cool. The pride thing and being proud of yourself for doing things is like, it's definitely a missing piece. It's so cool. Like, how cool is it that like in your job you get to feel that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not common.
Yeah. I definitely still like pinch myself sometimes.
I think this kind of leads me well to like my next like line of questioning is like motivation. So what motivates you to do what you do every day? What's your why?
Yeah, I guess like I'm still like growing and developing as an athlete. But yeah, I think because I've just done it for such a long time. Like I love it and it's how I grew up and it's what I value. And I just want to, be the best I can be, like while I've got the chances and the opportunities, like I want to make the most of them.
Do you think that's more discipline than passion, or is it a combination of the both?
Ooh. Yeah, it's probably a combination. I would say I am pretty disciplined. Like I think that is a strength of mine. Like I can show up each day. I'm not scared to like stick to the routine and get the job done.
There was a very common question about how important nutrition is in what you do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's so important. And yeah, that's something again that is I'm still like learning. Like I think I said this to my mom yesterday. I was like, man, I'm training the hardest I've ever trained. I'm recovering the hardest I've ever recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also like eating the hardest I've ever eaten. Like I feel like that's all I'm doing right now. So yeah, it's so important to make sure you're getting in enough food to help your body recover each day so you can try and back it all up and do it all again.
When did you learn about like the whole, like, because I'm sure at some point like you're working out, you're doing all this, you're being successful. At what point did you tick over to like realize that the actual, the hours that you spend in the gym is only part of it? Like the recovery and the nutrition and stuff and the sleep and the mental health, like all of that is also a big part. When did that start to click for you?
Definitely more so in the last few years. I think I probably took things a little bit for granted years back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's the cool thing. Like the sport is still developing and there's always going to be like new information and new studies and things coming out. So it's cool to like continue to evolve with that stuff. But yeah, it's all very important. Yeah, you're right. Like the training it's only one piece of the puzzle.
And where do you want to see the sport go in the next couple of years? Like what direction do you want to see it take?
Far out. I feel like CrossFit can be all over the place. But I would love to see it like travel.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to see the games move around. I think that would be really cool. Or yeah, I suppose even maybe not be just the games, but there's like multiple large competitions.
Yeah, like the season is like runs in different places.
Yeah, I think that would be cool instead of like the same process and then off to America, I suppose.
Is it hard to crack into like the group of the top athletes? Like is that the same kind of athletes every year or like is there always new faces?
It's a little bit of both. I think with the changes, because different semifinals get different amounts of spots.
Okay.
So like Australia or Oceania sends 3, but in America they had like one that sent 10 and then the other side sent 12.
Wow.
And then I'm pretty like Europe sent 5 or 6 or something like that. So there's been so many changes. So yeah, there's often new faces, but then there's also the same dominant faces every year.
And what about goals for yourself? Like what are your goals moving forward for the foreseeable future? Like if I was to ask you now, what are your goals for this season? What would you say?
Yeah, I want to make the CrossFit Games. So I want to be standing on the podium at Torian punching my ticket back to the CrossFit Games.
And what about long term? Like do you have any longer term goals or are you just kind of looking at what's right in front of you right now and process driven towards that? I'm
looking at what's right in front of me right now. I would love to have a bit more of an active year or season, even because there is some other comps like out of season comps that are just a bit more fun. But I want to like launch essentially the second phase of my career. So I would love to be going back to the games multiple times over the next few years.
Do you have any goals outside of your sport that you're working towards?
Right now I feel like we're wrapped up in RENNOS.
Yeah. That's fun. That actually counts.
Yeah. No,
that absolutely counts.
It's honestly lots of fun. So yeah, we're just with whatever spare time we've got, we're ticking away at that stuff, which is pretty cool.
That's actually really fun. Are you learning how to do all of it like yourself from like online videos and stuff?
Yeah, we've been doing a little bit of YouTube.
Nice.
We're lucky that Jay's family is very handy. Yeah. So they're helping and also teaching us a lot too.
That's so good. I renovated really poorly parts of my place last year and I remember I painted my bathroom and I was like, yeah, I'm doing great. Look at me painting my bathroom. I didn't know that you had to use a certain type of paint for bathrooms. And like 2 weeks later, it just started peeling off in sheets. Like I saw it bubble and I was like, why do I have bubbles in my wall? And I was like, it'll be fine. It'll go away. It's just air bubbles trapped in the wall. I didn't even think. It just started peeling off in sheets. And in that moment, I was like, I should probably ask a professional. Yeah. I should probably ask someone for help at some point in time. I was like, yeah, I can do it. I can paint my bathroom. It's fine.
Yeah, well, like over the years of like a teen, like I've done some painting at like mum's or like in my room. Like you're like, yeah, I'll paint my room a different color. So I was like, I love painting. Like this will be fun. No, you're doing a whole house. It's not fun anymore.
No, right? You get to the end and you're like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
Literally
like
never.
we only have our toilet door and bathroom door painted and on. The rest of the doors are just sitting there waiting to be painted.
Did you use a spray gun or?
No, I rolled them. Should probably spray.
Yeah, that's a lot. How it is satisfying when you peel off the tape at the bottom though. That is actually the only part that I enjoyed.
Yeah, that is.
So sorry, I really got distracted. So the year round, do you find it hard to stay fit like all year round, or do you take like a proper break at any point in time?
Yeah, like taking breaks is important, and I think like the team that we have now, they really like enforce that too. So like after the major comps, you'll have like 1 to 2 weeks off, like no training. You can sort of like do a little bit if you want. But I suppose like during that time, like is where I'll use it to like do some, I suppose more fun things like we'll get our bikes out or we'll like just go for a run instead, like just try and mix it up and get out of the gym. Like when you don't have to be in the gym, makes a big difference. So yeah, just trying to make it a little bit more fun. But yeah, there's definitely some rest periods in there.
How do you explain to people that like exercising can be fun? How would you say to someone who's like scared to get started and stuff? Like how do you explain that it's fun?
It may not necessarily be fun during, but it's fun after. Once you finish and you're like, damn, I did that. Like I achieved that. Like I ran further than I thought, or I did this, or I did that. Like, yeah, it's, I suppose the feeling and the sensations you get after training is what's really cool.
Kind of like what people describe as the runner's high, but like CrossFit high.
I suppose. And so like sometimes like when you're like, you feel like you're working really hard, you're like real sweaty, you're like, oh yeah, I'm grinding. Like this is fun.
Yeah. Do you keep kind of referencing a team. What do you mean by that? Like when you're like, oh, the team and I, like what is that?
So I am now working with Proven, which is Shane, Orr and Tia's, a brand. Yeah. But yeah, like, so Shane is mine and Jay's coach now. And it's just like, I still just can't even believe that this is happening. Yeah. Like to be working with them and have them like, in your corner, it's honestly surreal. Like Jay and I often say to each other, we're like, how is this happening? Like it's truly amazing. And yeah, I feel like I am in like the right place now with them to just thrive and become the best version of myself. So I'm honestly so pumped going into this season. So
what's you would say that is like a big piece, like the importance of having people around you that support you in that way? Yeah. Like
that was them when we were sitting there and they were like, so what do you want to achieve? They were like, why don't you believe in yourself? So, yeah, like they're just amazing. I can't even like put it into words. Like, yeah, I pinch myself every day. It's so cool. So, yeah, and they've got an amazing crew in America too. So just like Jay joined their program last year, so he got to train with them leading into the games and just seeing him develop and change as an athlete, even just from training with them before competing in the CrossFit Games was so incredible. It was really cool.
It must be cool to have like-minded people around you. Like I know it's hard to do anything when you don't have that support, but to have, it seems like the theme in your life is you've had people kind of there for you, like supporting you in that way. Yeah. I guess like as a friend, sister, maybe mom, whatever, what would your advice be to support the like female athletes in their lives?
I'd just say like make sure you're still enjoying it, because I think that's a big part. Like if you're not having fun enjoying yourself, then why are you doing it? But yeah, I would say coming back to the self-belief stuff, like, yeah, back yourself, like whatever you think you're capable of, you're capable of.
Do you do much like mindfulness or work with any sort of sports psychologist or anything like that, or is that something you want to try and get into?
I don't, but yeah, I suppose I'm tapping into a little bit of that stuff now. Like I'm just trying to read some books in terms of like sports psychology
What are you reading?
The Champion's Mindset.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Every page, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
You're true.
Yeah, that'll end up being one of the ones that you will probably go back and annotate and reread.
Yeah, I'm like just leaving like the pages turned over a little bit so I can like go back and like reread that.
Yeah, that's really good. Who's the author of that book? Can we plug that in somewhere? We'll put that in the notes. Anyway, I want to get into the question section. So this is the rapid fire by Reebok section, but a lot of the time it's not rapid fire because I end up talking way too much. Anyway, so what is your genre of music? Talk us through your Spotify playlist, Fitness Bra.
Oh no. I don't have a genre. Like, I feel like we listen to everything. At the moment, we're listening to a bit of country, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone is. But Fitness Bra is something that I made years ago. And it was sort of like at my old gym in Sydney. Yeah. And, like, people would ask to, like, add a song in. Yeah. And it was, like, bangers only.
Yeah.
It's bangers only. So it's, like, you need to be doing like a workout or like a cardio piece. It's intense.
Yeah, okay. All right. We're also adding that to the show notes because everyone needs a bit of fitness bra in their life. You know?
Sometimes it's like too intense for Jay. So
nice. You're going back to your EDM core workout from being 11 in a dark room with the strobe. I think
that's probably where it all started.
That's where it started.
I think we can blame Mum in the RPM.
Yeah. That's where it all began. This one says, why does Jay hate Wilfred so much? Do you want to talk us through that question?
Who wrote that?
Don't know. Does he get annoyed by Wilfred?
Well, because Wilfred's just... He's had a tough life, all right? I got Wilfred when he was 7. He's had a hard life. So you need to be very patient with Wilfred. And some days he has good days, some days he has bad days. Jay's not patient.
That's the poor Wilfred.
Poor Wilfred. He's just like lives his life scared sometimes. You know, you just gotta be real gentle.
Yeah, makes sense.
He's just an old man.
He's just an old man. What are you supposed to do? He's just a dog. Anyway, what's your favorite training shoe?
The Nano X4.
Yeah, the new ones?
Yeah, the new ones.
Yeah, they're good. Hey.
So good.
I've never trained in a shoe with a heel lift before, like that has a little bit until the nanos. And I've noticed such a difference.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're so comfy. I don't know why I've like only ever, I don't know, because like I usually just lift in my basketball shoes. Yeah. And then like going over to like an actual shoe that's meant for training makes such a difference. It really does. So good. If Jay and Toby were to ever have a UFC fight, who would win?
I've had this question before.
Have you actually?
It's Toby.
This is a common question.
I don't know who put this in.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us. Wait, can I change the question? If Jay, Toby and Maddie were to have a UFC fight?
It's Maddie.
Yeah, it's Maddie. I thought that would be the answer.
Yeah.
I just had to put that in there. And then this one says, are you one of those CrossFit athletes with a super strict routine? Do you follow a strict routine? Like, are you a kind of like same thing every day? Like, is your process strict or...
Nah. I have like a pretty good routine and I try and stick to it, but it's not super strict. Like, I'm happy to go with the flow. But yeah, like there's definitely like things to tick off, I guess, but it's not like this at this time and this at this time. Yeah. It's not like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. You kind of answered this one. I might just get you to maybe if you thought of something different, but like what motivates you to complete your training every day? Is it just like what you said about getting better?
Yeah. I want to be better. Like I want to be performing and I have goals for the season. So I'm just driving towards that.
You kind of answered that, but that's great. Tell us something that people don't know about you and wouldn't expect. Do you have like a fun side hobby? Can you juggle, you know?
I can't juggle. I don't know. I feel like I'm an open book. Like most people would know stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my life revolves around training right now. So,
but I mean, you're about to enter like a period of your life where you're training. Like you literally said, you're training the hardest you've ever trained.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool phase of your life to be in. Like I always know that like when I'm training hard, I feel really good.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to deal with any sort of injuries before?
Yes, I have, definitely.
And how do you, like, I know injuries are really hard to handle, and personally, how did you handle that injury and then rehabbing and then getting back to your fittest version of yourself?
Yeah, actually last year I was sort of battling a bit of an injury. So I was honestly just happy to end up at Torian at our semi-final, because trying to get through the quarterfinals was honestly a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it was actually like, there's a few, obviously a lot of people that were keeping me in it, but Andreas was also a big part. Like he was there in person after each workout. He's like, all right, what do you need? And at no point he was like, no, you can stop. He was like, no, you're getting through this weekend.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah.
You're just going to do what you need to do to get through this weekend.
Yeah.
And then, it was like, by that point it had already been sort of months and months of trying to rehab.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are like good at not listening, or like not taking rehab too seriously, or just coming back to training too early, or pushing it a little bit too far, which I definitely did. It's important to definitely listen to the professionals and take the time off that you need and rehab properly, just so you don't prolong it and it doesn't turn into months and months of putting up with this injury. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, sometimes we just think we can push through these things.
You're like, it'll be fine.
It's whatever.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I've been dealing with an ankle injury as of recent, where I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll just keep pushing. And I got an injection the other week and I lost all feeling in my foot. And I was like, I should stop. I think maybe now's the time. Like, your body will tell you when she's done.
Yeah.
She will tell you. And then this, that one kind of asks you about your goals. But I guess the question I want to ask you is like, how do you think people see you and perceive you versus who you actually are? And is there a separation between the two?
I get told all the time that I have a resting bitch face. All the time.
I don't think so.
And people say to me, I can't read you.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're sad or happy. I'm like, well, I'm happy. Like, it's just me. There's nothing wrong. So I think a lot of people think that maybe I'm a bit scary. I've been told I'm a bit intimidating. I'm not like that at all. It's just my face.
Yeah, it must be the resting bitch face.
Yeah.
That's definitely what it is. Do you think that over time, like as you put more of yourself out there and the more successful you are with your CrossFit stuff, do you hope for people to see you for like who you are, or that's not like something that you're concerning yourself with at the moment?
I've been thinking about this a lot too, and it would be really cool to I suppose open up more. I think coming back to the last few years, how I said like I've sort of been functioning off a bit of fear. So I feel like I've sort of like maybe shut down a little bit in that regard, and like being out in front of the crowd and things like that. I'm working on everything.
Yeah. I think the idea of like, obviously everyone goes through a period in their life where they do function off of that fear, and sometimes that means that we go insular and we just focus on what's right in front of us, because that's the fight or flight. That's us getting through what we can do every day. The exciting part is now you're entering a phase in your life where everyone's going to get to see you succeed and just be, and I hope that people get to see this side of you more, you know, like listening to you talk, like I can't even comprehend how someone would see you as intimidating, but I have seen videos of you working out, and then maybe now that I'm thinking about it, I could maybe see that. So after I interviewed Jay, I went back to my gym in Perth and I said to my strength coach, I was like, I want to learn how to do a muscle up. I was like, surely you could teach me. And he's like, all right, let's try. And I got up there and like I was hanging on the bar, and then he's like, yeah, just kind of swing your legs. And I literally hung there like a limp noodle. I was like, okay, I get it now. There's no way I can do this. So it was so funny. At the start of the season, we were talking through like my personal goals for basketball. And at the end I was like, and I want to be able to do a muscle up. He's like, how does that relate to your sport? I was like, it doesn't, but I need to do it now. Now that I've set my mind to it, we're not any closer, but maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get there. Anyway, so to kind of wrap things up, I guess the last question I want to ask is like, if you were explaining what CrossFit means to you, if you could, maybe give us that. What does CrossFit mean to you, and why is it so important to you?
It means to me like getting through like pushing through tough times and doing things you never thought you were capable of doing. Like, yeah, right back to when I was a teen, how like I never would have thought I would have been at regionals and I never thought I would have been at the games. Like, I think it's, yeah, being able to push yourself to achieve pretty cool things.
That's cool. I love that. I'm excited to clip that one up. That's a really good answer. So I guess like I think it's pretty important like for people to listen to this just to understand a little bit more about you. I like your journey through kind of athletics and CrossFit and just like being a really active kid is really cool. I love that story about your mum bringing you to a fitness class. That is actually so fun. And like the support that you've had throughout and the support that you have now within your team. I didn't even know that it was like you could have a team around you, because I think everyone looks at CrossFit and thinks it's a single person sport. I didn't know that it had a team.
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I suppose so like there's like coaches in the space. And so there's some pretty big, like they call them camps now.
Yeah.
So Proven has a few coaches. So yeah, it's like they're all working together, but then you got someone that's like doing your programming, and then you'll have like someone there to help you at your comp and things like that. So there's like a few different camps or like big coaches in the space. But yeah, I'm super grateful to be working with Proven. It's very cool.
So cool. I literally had no idea that it was like you had that much support around you. Like I think from the outside looking in, they see it as like a very singular, but even the way you described it as like you've got your family and your brothers and sisters and like the type of environment, like it makes me want to go to a CrossFit gym. That's so cool. Like, and I think that the more popular the sport gets, the more people it'll draw in, and it sounds like it's an incredible community, and I'm excited to watch that space grow and it sounds like a really important space for women to be in as well. Like how cool that is something that like is a comfortable and safe space for like female athletes. Like that's pretty dope. It's pretty awesome. Cool. Anyway, I will wrap up. I am really appreciative that you came on and told us a little bit, because I'm so sure there's so much more to you, but a little bit more about who you are, what you do every day, and that like I'm still learning about CrossFit. So like, and it's cool. I feel like I understand it a little bit more. I love watching you online and all the things that you do. I think it's awesome to see like a strong, powerful female athlete woman out there just being a boss all the time. I think it's pretty dope. And I don't think you're intimidating until I see you do really heavy weights. But even then, I think it's awesome. It's powerful. It's cool. And I think that for young girls and boys to be able to see that is super important, especially in this day and age when, you know, we love to put ourselves in boxes. Like you're just like shoving the box away. You're like, no, I want to be in it. Like it's really awesome, and I'm really appreciative that you came on and gave us a little bit of your time. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that was Under the Surface, Pumped by Reebok. I'm your host, Anneli Maley, and that was Maddie.